It's now cheaper than ever to build a Ryzen PC thanks to B850 motherboards finally being released. But what exactly do you lose out on if you go for one of these cheaper models rather than the X870 chipset which we had thus far? Well, a couple of things. Firstly, when it comes to PC expansion, while you still do get at least one PC Gen 5 NVMe slot, PC Gen 5 on the graphics card is optional, which, to be fair, I don't think many people will miss. Not only are Gen 5 graphics cards now getting started with RTX 50 series and, well, most likely the RX 9000 series coming out in March, but also historically the PC bandwidth hasn't affected the GPU performance that much. Though again, that could change, and maybe AMD's next-gen architecture will be super sensitive to whatever speeds the actual slot itself is running at. So if you are having potentially major FOMO about not getting Gen 5, don't worry, because like I said, some B850 motherboards will still have it, but it's just not mandatory. Another thing that you will be definitely missing out on though if you go with B850 is faster USB, given how X870 supports up to USB 4, that's 40 gigabit per second, while here you're only getting up to 20 gigabit per second USB ports. Again, you have to ask yourself if that's something you'd even use. Most peripherals don't need those kind of speeds. It's only for stuff like external SSDs where you're moving large files frequently, then it's actually going to come in useful. Those are the main differences in spec from AMD themselves, though again, the big thing when it comes to motherboards is that the manufacturers themselves do a lot to really make the motherboards stand out, especially the higher end ones. They do a lot to try and justify charging you 300, 400, even more for a motherboard. So you could be losing out on some other stuff when compared to X870. The rear I/O could have less ports. The integrated sound could be better on X870 if you're not using a sound card or an external interface. You could have less various internal ports. They could just not look as good as X870. Though again, for all of those things, you really have to ask yourself, do you really need that if you're on a budget anyway? And keep in mind that B850 motherboards in themselves fall on a pretty wide spectrum. I mean, some of the most high-end ones can cost you over $300. And in terms of what they actually include, well, they do come pretty close to what X870 can offer without being, well, X870. On the other hand, if you're after something ultra budget, well, there are other choices than B850. Last gen X670 and X670E boards can be now gotten on a major discount, and because of AMD's pretty confusing naming scheme, those actually have more PCIe lanes than B850, and then there's also last gen B650 and B650E as well. Not to mention the recent launch of B840, the most budget chipset available, though that thing is capped at just PC Gen 3, 10 gigabit USB, and it doesn't even have CPU overclocking, so it's pretty limited. Though again, if you just need anything with an AM5 socket, then I guess it will get the job done. So yeah, that is a lot of motherboards to consider, but thankfully we have done so many videos covering as many motherboards as possible on the AMD side, so definitely check those out. They're going to be up in the iCards, as well as some recommendations for which B850 motherboards you should buy, and the links to those will be also down in the video description below, where you're going to find a Patreon as well, because even a single $1 month truly goes a long way. Plus huge thanks to Gavin Burns, Justin Rage, Ella Vroniak, Balash Voka, Patrick Harrison, Not a Pseudonym, Meg Sumner, Shane Allcroft, and Level Up. But anyway, that's about it, so I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, then remember to subscribe, like, whatever, and I'll see you all in whatever I make next. Goodbye everyone. Goodbye.